Listen up, guys. So this episode, I fucking ranted a little bit. I just did a little bit of ranting. I wanted to project myself a little bit and have myself be a little bit more my personality, a little bit more out there, I guess. I don't know. I felt like ranting about something and expressing myself, and I thought, I don't do a journal or anything like that. I don't do anything like that. I was like, oh, my thing is my podcast. That's what I talk into. So, I had so many ideas. This was just a little excerpt of ideas that I had in the moment, but it's not, of course, the entirety of all thoughts I've either always had or ever had, or even everything that was even in that moment. It was me just trying to express what it was happening in my mind at the time, and hopefully, I think the point was I was just sitting down and ranting to better express myself for everybody else. I don't know. It was just a matter of, I felt like sitting down as I'm starting this whole thing and going through obstacles, and of course, for one, it was just I wanted to just rant about it and throw a little bit of my personality out there, and whatever that means, man, that might not even be. I might look back on this and think, God, that was so unreasonable, but at the same time, I talk to people to try to get ideas out and to express myself, as well as to hear other points of view. And I talk to people. That's why I want to talk to people, is I want people to express themselves, and I want to see other points of view. So that's what this was. I sat down to express myself. No special guest. There's no special guest. It's me, myself, and I guess. And I just wanted to say some shit. I don't know. And maybe it'll just all at the end of it come out as being incoherent babbling, but it definitely felt good to sit down and be thoughtful to myself and record it and get over some stigmas of recording and to acknowledge that I have so many ideas. I mean, I have thoughts on, everything. I mean, I this is what I pride myself on, is just thinking and trying to express ideas, and that's why I want to talk to people. And this is why, hey man, if ever I have to try to get someone to get on my show, this will be a hell of a sales pitch, maybe, or it'll come off as the ramblings of a madman, I guess. But either way, but I hope that my whole point in this is just to talk and to express some ideas, get over some stigmas. I go through a little bit of a journey in this one, man, and I want you, the listener, to be a part of it, which is why I had to record it and have you hear it. I think there's enough benefit for both you and I to have recorded this. So it was interesting. I think I've been dwelling on it since I've recorded it. This is later on. I'm recording this. This is afterwards, but I'm thinking about it, and it's just ridiculous to think that, man, I went back and listened to it, just some editing and all that, and it's just crazy to hear myself say those things, because I'm like, oh man, I make so much sense to myself. I hope that I make sense to other people, but yeah, you never know. But I just hope you guys enjoy this, and really, the whole point of it, I mentioned it later in the episode. If you quit listening, I understand. But at the same time, I really think that what I'm talking about here is, send me a message, chat with me if you've got the if you understand what I'm talking about. If not, then I guess I'm just the ramblings of a madman, and in which case, still message me and let me know that I'm a fucking madman. Either way, I I'm reaching out to you. It's on you now. Help the Tanner Vance Show. Help me. And if you want to do that, then either way, for good or bad, TannerVanceShow.com, right? Go there. You can get a hold of me. That's a work in progress in and of itself. It's one that I keep talking about. I keep mentioning it, and it's there. So go on there, man. And I have so much work to do, even with what I've done. But get on there and talk to me, man. You can get hold. You goddamn can get on the Instagram and talk to me. So you got no goddamn excuse. So get on there, throw ideas at me, chat with me, whatever you want to do, man. But enjoy this episode. I just rambled, and I swear I'm going to continue doing what I do. But this was just, I needed to just rant a little bit, and I wanted to express myself a little bit, and that's all it was. So without further ado, the Tanner Vance Show presents me. So what this is, I guess, is me sitting down with some thoughts and just explaining them as best that I can, understanding that I'm not going to be able to explain it the way I want to necessarily. I'm going to botch this and butcher it more than I would want to, obviously. Like something like this, I would want to be giving it my 100% open-mindedness and vocabulary just on par, and having this be explained in the way that I mean it to. But it's not going to happen. I know I'm going to look back on it and think, who knows, I might not even post it. I want to. It's just, I want this explained the way I want it explained. And I guess my whole point is, with what I'm sitting here doing, is I'm trying to explain, I guess, where I'm at as far as, I suppose, life and my goals, and I think they're applicable to the human experience and what everyone else is thinking. And I guess maybe I'm just trying out recording myself just to hear what it is, just to sit down and even practice like what it is for me to sit down and try to actually hit the record button and rant with my feelings. I feel like that is a part of how I'm going to open up my mind a bit and how I'm going to be able to express myself. Like that's, especially in this being something I want to do with recording, I have to open my mind a bit and talk and learn how to do that even better than I've been doing. And I've made progress in how I record, in how I do all things. I'd like to say that I've made progress, right? Like that's what you want, but I don't know. It's just that I'm my biggest critic. I am my own biggest critic. And even now, sitting here to record, I'm having my doubts about, what am I doing? And is this what I want to be doing? And am I doing it right? I don't know. It's just me sitting down and doing this recording. I don't know. But my whole point, I guess, is I wanted to be able to sit down and record something that just comes from my mind and my heart, and just to say something. And I guess what I want to say is I'm just trying to explain, I guess, like I said, where I'm at. It's just that I want to explain that I have frustrations, and as far as the podcast goes, but I have frustrations on a greater level about who I am and what I'm doing. So I suppose my best, the best way to go about this is for me to sit down and explain what it is I'm doing, and just start somewhere, right? Like you gotta start somewhere. I can't just ramble about, throwing words out and not explaining myself. But I think what I'm trying to say, or what I want to do, is let's start somewhere, and I'll try to explain more. So let's look at I was gonna say the podcast, but let's look at myself first. And I hope that this is applicable to other people. I like to think that it is. So, that's what I'm going to... I don't know, maybe that's why I'm doing this. Maybe that's incorrect to just assume that. But I also think that what I'm going through is part of the human experience. And I hope that it is, because the whole thing is I'm trying to get better. For a while now, I've been torn in this weird part of my life where it's like, it seemed so simple when I was a kid, right? It seemed so simple. And then all of a sudden you hit this portion of your life where you become an adult, and then it's up to you to start making decisions. And then you realize that there was portions, all throughout your life you were making decisions and it was all up to you. But you just hit this portion in your adulthood, that you are independent, and it's up to you to decide, what do you do with your time, and what do you do with your existence? What do you do with your life? I don't know. So I'm trying to come up with, I guess, that. But a lot of what this is with myself, what I'm going through is how do I better myself? And how do I overcome this struggle of the Satan in me? And I say that because there's this constant temptation in my mind to be lazy, to not produce, to just, and sometimes it's, I put on a facade. I try to pretend and say that what it is I'm doing is a means to bettering myself. And sometimes it is, because I use some genuine reasons as to why I'm doing the thing that I'm doing. Sometimes I'll sit down and just watch hours of something on YouTube, and I'll sit there and try to learn about something, but at the same time it's almost just like idle learning. I'm just sitting there trying to just absorb information, but I have to be real with myself and recognize that I'm not going to actually absorb a lot of this information. As fascinating as it is, I'm not going to absorb a lot of it. I'm just going to sit here and witness things and pretend like that I'm an expert on it, therefore, afterward, or that I know something about it. But then down the road, like let's say even a year from now, I come to conjure that information, it's going to be gone. It's not going to be, I'm not going to be able to have that information on hand like I think, because my brain is just going to tuck it away into the waste bin of my brain. And then it was just like, well, then I guess if I have to relearn something, I don't know, didn't I just waste my time? And I think when you learn something, when you sit down and you really study something or work on something, you do become better at it. Or you're sitting down to do that particular thing and you're actually dedicated to it. And you're trying to get better at it. I don't know, but me, I think something I do is, like I said, that's my pretending to do something productive. But I sit there and I just try to learn random things. And that's great. That's probably a better way to spend your time than, other options, other potentials. But I spend so much time, is in my path or my crusade to get better. I end up almost doing worse, but with pretend intentions, or at least throwing something up that's real, an intention that's real, and saying, this is what I'm going to do, don't worry, and this is how I'm going to go about it. But it's a lie on how I'm going to go about it. I'm just using a way to explain, I guess, excuse myself, really, in my bad behaviors and things like that. I got myself, I guess what I can say and sum everything up without, I recognize I sound like a total madman right now. There's no way that what I'm saying doesn't sound like the ramblings of a madman. It's just that what it is it's a human being trying to work itself out, trying to work its mind out and understand where it's at and what it's doing. And a big part of me right now is I'm worried about and thinking about how to better myself, how to better my health, how to better my creative mind. Something I've been dabbling in is trying to get more into expanding my mind, like meditation and studying what hypnosis is and how that's, because there's been some bad cases of hypnosis where people have used hypnosis to manipulate others, and I don't want others to manipulate my mind. I want to keep my mind strong, and so I'm kind of also going through, I suppose what you could say, a spiritual awakening of sorts. I mean, I've always been a guy who's always felt like, growing up in a Christian household, not necessarily belonging to any particular denomination or anything like that, but just strong Christian household as it was. I guess, after I always felt very close to my, Christendom, but of course, eventually I dropped that in pursuit of what I thought was knowledge and all that. But I don't know. It's all just repeated itself back, and almost, not that I'm thinking of like, I need to go back to Christianity, right? Like, I'm not specifically, but I'm thinking of this higher, I mean, you got things like, Crowley, and all these other, there's the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I hope I'm not butchering that, but I might be. But, you have people, and all it was just, and that's just a couple examples of many who were just trying to attain some kind of spiritual enlightenment. And I mean, just the whole concept of meditation. And I've been trying to kind of partake a little bit in meditation and learn about it and practice it. And it's been a really weird experience. And I think tapping into it is kind of what has awakened my mind a little bit in this department, and thinking, so what is it like to try to get into my own mind, and how do I peel back the layers that is my personality, the facade I put on at times, and who I really am and what I want to do, and what am I afraid of, and why am I afraid of that? Like, why am I afraid of that? Like, I'm fucking afraid of wasps and hornets, right? I don't know why. Sometimes I attribute it to a moment when I was a kid where we lived in Fallon, Nevada, right? And it was just desert, right? And so I remember I was outside just playing in the dirt, or, well, sand, let's be honest. It was, I was out there playing, and I just remember I was minding my own business, and all of a sudden, the door to my house opens, and my mom she poked her head out, and to her, this was probably such an unseeming, little moment where she just poked her head out and said, "Hey, like, there's a lot of bees out there. Might be a nest somewhere out. There's a lot of wasps and all that out. Just be careful." And I was like, what? What's that? Is that a problem? You're talking to me about it like it's a problem. Is it a problem? And she was like, "Oh, I mean, they could like sting you, but only if you really get in their business. If you just piss them off. But still, just be careful because sometimes it's accidental." And then just went back into the house and just did her own thing. But I was left there thinking, there's little creatures that can just fucking sting you or just hurt you. Like, I have to worry about something, right? Like, so I think about that moment sticks out to me for some reason. But, this isn't just a fear about, about bees or anything kind of physical. You get older and you start thinking about, especially in your teen years, you start thinking about death. You start thinking about this is really existential thinking. That's when your brain almost starts tapping into that. But then you get older and you start realizing, what am I going to do with my life? Everything's not determined for me. I don't have someone even here making rules for me. I can do anything I want to, but it's a strange kind of freedom where before you were kind of free, but you had restrictions and you were pissed off about those restrictions. But really, they gave you a strange kind of freedom where it was like you were free within your confines. You knew your confines and you were free within them. But now it's all of a sudden you're graduating and maybe depending on the household you grew up in, right? Maybe you really are on your own as soon as you turn 18, or maybe to some degree you don't have that financial or maybe even spiritual or moral support that some people have, you see around you. But so maybe you don't have that support and you're just open to the world, you're vulnerable. And of course I went through that. And so there's this, but I feel like I've never really conquered some of that innate fear of who am I and what am I going to do with my life? And I've done things, been here and there and tried some various things out, but I feel like I was really trying out the negatives and almost playing into that young adolescent, that teenage thought process of, it's like when you're young, you think that by finding the loopholes in existence, for example, within society, we agree to be civilized, right? That's what keeps civilization. We all agree to this contract to behave ourselves to a point. Most of us do this. And so we sign this contract as we're growing up, and we agree to behave ourselves. And then we agree that we're going to restrict our lesser urges and our lesser thoughts and our primitive behaviors to get along in society. But the problem is that I feel like what it is that teenagers do when they start to become aware and they start to become alive, their brain computer starts to boot itself up. They almost start, when they start finally looking at the universe and their existence and things, their brain starts developing that way. I feel like there's a part of them that thinks that they found a loophole. And truly they have. Like, they think, there is no good and bad, good and evil. I can do whatever I want to. Some teenagers have that nihilistic thinking. But then it's once you get older, you realize that the higher levels of thinking, the true maturity and true enlightenment isn't finding the loopholes and the loopholes being, how do you can do whatever you want. You were poking the holes in society, or you're poking the holes in logic. And that one's a tricky one to explain. That one's more along the lines of, when you're young, you think you found the building blocks, but really you were just playing with Legos, man. There's actual stuff going, there's actual thought process. The actual level of enlightenment and maturity isn't to acknowledge that there's loopholes in the system. True enlightenment and maturity to me is what I'm realizing is when you realize that there's loopholes, but how do you overcome the temptation? And how do you, be better? How do you ignore those temptations, and how do you spend every day waking up and facing yourself and facing existence and saying, I'm going to do better? That one is a tricky one. And I don't know, but it's something I've been struggling with. All of these thoughts, in how I'm going to better myself as a person. And something I know I struggle with is, like I do drink a lot. I was particularly something I hate is I smoke. I hate that one, especially coronavirus is going on, and I want to be in better health. So, I don't want to be attacked while I'm at my lowest. And on top of that, that brings me into like exercising. You got to exercise. It's just proven it's a better thing for you. And for me, when I if I have a day off, I wake up in the morning and go on a walk or something like that, man, that changes my day. I'm so much a better person for having experienced that. And it changes my whole day, man. I feel more energetic and brighter, and of course it's just a proven fact, man. You got to exercise, and so for me, I got to do that. I need to do more of that. I've slacked in that. I sometimes I go on walks, but I've been inconsistent. So there's the health aspect of getting better. I'm trying to be spiritual and open, and trying to be more loving, and try to figure out my fucking mind and what is it that bothers me. And I brought up the bees. Like, why is it that I'm afraid of that? That should be something I overcome. But I don't know how to overcome my fears or my reservations on things. So, man, and that's just a tricky thing. How do you fix all this stuff? And how do you work on it, all of it simultaneously? But what brings me into what was going to be my second point of all of this was, I know I mentioned my podcast, but what that's almost like even my own self of fulfilling myself. This kind of ties in with my whole first point. The podcast is me trying to do something that I enjoy doing and that I have fun doing, and overcoming some of my fears, right? Like hitting the record button and getting over the stigma of being myself to other people. It's just, this podcast is a reflection of me getting over fears and also finding fulfillment and giving my life greater purpose most of the time. You know what I mean? Like, waking up and having nothing bothers me. That idea of having nothing. Like, you wake up and what do you do? Like, what do you do with your time? Especially say you have a day off. You spend the entire time you're working complaining that you're at work and you have to go to work all that. You have to get up early, you have to stay late. This job is unfulfilling. You feel like you're just doing monotonous tasks, or you're doing something that goes against your moral code, whatever it is. And then you spend all that time griping, and then you get off work and you go home, and then what? And then you're faced with and that's why it's almost a joke amongst humans, is like, oh yeah, I got off work and then I went home and I had no idea what to do, because I didn't have work in front of me. And it's like, yeah, that's a joke, because we're all afraid of that, or it's a common occurrence amongst us that this happens, that we're afraid, or that this happens to it. It's this phenomenon but it's only because we don't consider what else we want out of life. What else are you doing with your time? And I don't have the answer to that, because we're all so different. For me, it's what I don't know. I'll let you know. But, for other people, some people find it. They find it. They're like, oh, working out in the field, or, working with my hands, or sometimes working on some very particular thing. There's people who spend their lives working in, and I won't be able to remember what it is, but so there's got to be someone listening that's rolling their eyes. But there's people who are out there who dedicate their lives to just naming animals and arguing how they should be ranked amongst, their phylum and their kingdom and all that. They argue about the details of just naming a creature or a thing or a phenomenon. That's, to me, that's no way. Like, no way I wouldn't find fulfillment in that. But there's people out there who do. And God bless them that they do, because there's people out there who are, they just become obsessed with something and study it. That's their passion. They found passion. But luckily, it contributes to the greater whole, the greater mass of our society. And so for that, of course, it's beautiful. That's wonderful. It's just, what is my passion? And I think that that's a question that a lot of people ask. They ask themselves all the time, what's my thing? What's my gig? What's my bag? I don't know. I don't know what to do. And really what we're asking is, how do we be useful with our lives, and how do we wake up every day knowing what to do next? Pick up where we left off last, to have some guidance and structure. We just don't want to wake up and wonder, now what? And I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the person that just accepts that, because I'm which makes me my worst my biggest enemy and critic, is that I'm so I won't allow it. I won't allow myself to just to sit there and do nothing. And I can't accept that. So I'm always pushing myself to do better. And that's what the podcast is. I'm trying to get over my greater fear of being worthless. The worst case scenario is that this world is a simulation, or that this is just a dream, or maybe it doesn't matter at the end of the day. We all just become nothingness when we die. Maybe the biggest fear is that all of this life itself might not even be a big deal. Maybe it's not, that you lived this great life and you lived this great test and God brings you back to heaven and you're sitting on a throne next to him. Maybe that's not that. Maybe this life, no matter what it is and how you interpret it, maybe it's nothing. And then when you die, you're nothingness, or it doesn't matter. You're to a point, There's so many interpretations of this religious, spiritual thinking, but the worst case scenario is that this means nothing, and that you wasted the one time you had to do something. And I don't want to do that. And so that's what I'm afraid of. So I'm constantly driving myself to do something and to be better. And for me I feel like a huge stepping stone in trying to pursue what you want to pursue involves you getting better. Personally, you have to get better. And that's something even when I started a podcast, I thought, I want to get, I don't want to be boring. I don't want to be dumb and lame. I hope that I can come off. And the thing is I had to eventually ask myself, well, does that involve you pretending or being really you, or pretend, and what does that look like? What if being you is boring and lame and ignorant and stupid? Then it's like, oh no. Well, luckily, I think that there's a lot you can do about that. I personally don't actually believe that I am those things. I think that I truly do believe, without trying to put myself up on a pedestal, that I have a lot to say, a lot to think. I think I have something to offer. I want to offer something to our species, and I'm looking for it, and I'm working it out. But I don't believe that I'm just dumb and useless or anything like that. It's just that I don't know how to apply myself, and that's part of like my opening myself up spiritually. I'm trying to, and opening myself up or being a better person, bettering myself. Let's say that, because I thought, well, as soon as you start the podcast, you don't want to come off as a dumb, ignorant, whatever kind of person, this negative person. So be a better person, and that will shine through. If other people see you, even outside the podcast, they will see you as a better person and someone to look up to, or at least a reasonable person. You won't be that negative person if you're living that life, man. It's better to live that life and display it than to not and then try to lie about it and then go home by yourself and live with that lie, that you lie about your own existence, that you are worthless. And fuck, there's that recording. There's the alarm. Of course I have to mention that in this one. I'm not off the hook just because I'm by myself, but that's just it. I'm trying to better myself, and I'm working through this weird thing of how to do it. Like I've been, I try to listen to books all the time while I'm at work, working a monotonous job, just because it's not a bad job. It's just one that involves repetitive tasks, and I can do that. That's fine. I spend that time listening to stuff and doing this thing, and it's fine. It's not bad work. I'm very blessed actually for the job that I have. I don't opposed to. I'm not opposed to it, but it's just that I have to do more with my life. And this podcast, this one is something that frustrates me though, is how hard it is. Like I'm kind of shifting gears here a little bit and talking about the more physical aspects of this frustration of the podcast. I will just say it is tricky to get something started, isn't it? Like you'll start a project, you start doing something because you usually think, I want to do something and maybe this is the answer. I'll be fulfilled this way. Or maybe, like this will lead me to something greater. And truly, like, even whenever I've started, like, I've mentioned it before. I had a first podcast, a new tab project, and man, it just taught me so much about podcasting. And I've always grown up always wanting to do entertainment stuff anyways. I've always wanted to, you know, get on YouTube or just do skits and humor. I always want to work with humor, and I want to work with uh I guess being reasonable and trying to propagate reasonable thinking for human beings, and not giving in to, like, for example, the two party systems, or the who are you going to jerk off, capitalism or communism, No, I mean, just general well-being and good thinking for human beings. And entertainment, like I said, has been a huge thing for me. And then later on, I realized, more like, oh, it'd be so great to be a stand-up comedian. That would be so awesome. You know, I don't know. Those are just some thoughts of mine. But the podcast is, and maybe, I don't know if me and Sid have mentioned it before, if I've mentioned it here on this podcast per se, but we've talked about doing a podcast for years. Like I mentioned, he was a good friend of mine. We've been talking about doing these kinds of things for a long time. And so now we're here, or at least now I'm starting to do these kinds of things. I'm trying to tap into doing these things I've always talked about, and I've always trying to write more and all that. It's trying to pursue these things that at the very least, maybe, I don't have the drive and the passion to sit there and spend my life naming animals and how they ought to be named and arguing about, no, you don't name him that way. That's just not. We ought to use this Latin name. It better represents him. No, I'm talking. I don't have that kind of passion for anything almost, because I love so many different things. But I do enjoy these things of entertainment and all that, and I'm just trying to pursue that. But I've learned a lot, and that's fantastic. It's just, man, you start doing a thing and you realize all the obstacles, and it's almost like starting it brings almost about more pessimism and negativity and criticizing of yourself than as if you hadn't started. Because at most, it's almost, and I could be untrue, I could be wrong, but it's almost like if you had never started, you could come up with a million reasons why you failed, or why it never happened. You could come up with a billion reasons why something didn't happen, or how you were hindered, and blah, 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 blah. You could say, fuck, that you are financially at a disadvantage, and rationalize that to a point that it makes a lot of sense, or you could, whatever. But when you start doing something and you really start digging into it and you learn more and you overcome the first barrier, which is just starting something, and you start doing something, you start getting into it, learning more, and it starts building up a little bit momentum, it's inevitably going to hit another wall, another obstacle. And then that obstacle is going to make you feel like, almost ridicule you for what you've learned, because of how much more you have to learn, how far away you are from actually achieving your conclusive dream, which your conclusive dream is just an imagination. It's just a dream. Even if you reach the point that you imagine would be the peak of existence or achievement, you would still be, it's the human experience, you would berate yourself for ever just settling somewhere. You have to do something else. That such is the human burden. But you start doing something and you reach that second barrier, and all of a sudden now you don't have necessarily a million reasons why you didn't go further from there. Say you stopped there, then it becomes, you have very specific reasons why, if you failed, why that you only have a few reasons as to why you failed. It becomes more of like, at this point, it's like, I've started producing content, putting it out there for people to hear, and even strangers. And it's like, if I all of a sudden just drop off the map, everyone will be like, oh, well, I guess there's just no new Tanner Vance show. I guess he just quit it. I guess he just didn't want to stick with it, or something. Maybe something specific happened, but I'll be honest, so far nothing. If all of a sudden I dropped it now, it's not because, something in my life caused me to not be able to. It was just that I quit it. I didn't pursue it enough. I didn't push it. And all that, So right now, it's like I've tried doing this, and now I have very specific, if I fail, I have very specific reasons for why I've failed. And some of it, if not most of it, will probably be because I myself didn't drive myself. I am the reason that it failed, and I could have circumvented it, and I didn't. So that's the fear of doing this, is that it will open you up for almost like more. And then at that point, you can't even lie to yourself that, oh, well, it was out of my hands. I couldn't have fixed it. I couldn't have done anything about it. At this point, if I failed, statistically, it'll be because I did it to myself, that I could have fixed it. I could have done something about it, but I didn't. And that's why I'm at where I'm at. So that's a frustration. And not only that, though, but this obstacle that I'm talking about, this second obstacle, specifically, of course, this is attributed to, I'm attributing it personally to podcasts, but understand that this is attributed to any field, anything you're trying to get into, anything you're trying to do. God bless you for trying to do it. If you've made it that far, stick with it. Don't give it up. I know that in my heart too, and that's why I'm not gonna, but it's tricky, and you're gonna find and it's, mine is tricky in my own ways, and or it comes with its own version of obstacles, and yours will too when it comes to your thing. So understand that, expect it, and also don't give up, man. And whatever it is, just keep trying it, man, because at least waking up, to me, the way I've tried to interpret it a little bit, and I struggle with it too, is that at least if you wake up with a problem, and you wake up with thinking, oh man, how am I going to keep this going? Like, if I fail, I only have a couple of reasons. It'll probably be my fault. Like, and I'm trying to get inspiration. I want to be better. Man, at least you wake up with that problem. At least you're not still left at the existential crisis of, what am I doing? Who am I? That might even crop up sometimes, but at least you've got something going on. And at least tell that part of your brain that tries questioning yourself to shut the fuck up, man. I'm trying to get better. Let me get better. And there is, as much as there's a part of your brain that's trying to be negative, at the Satan in your brain that's trying to bring you down, there's also the light in your brain, the God in your brain that's trying to tell you, hey, no, like there's that as much too. Tap into that then in those moments. Try as best you can. And I know that's not a conclusive answer. It's just, this is my little personal shout out to anyone that's listening that has shit going on that you're trying to do. Just go for it, man, and keep doing it. I support you, and I hope that that there's people. I know for a fact there's people supporting me. So let's support each other. But my little cheerleading moment's over. So my whole thing is, I'll tie this in with a frustration I have with this podcast, man. It's ridiculous. You look at these high time podcasts, right? And they can bring in anyone they want. Basically, they can produce episodes. I'm going to call them high-level episodes. So I'll explain it in a second. So they can produce high-level episodes, maybe a week or, every a week and a half or something like that. An insane rate, maybe even smaller than a week, right? There's some people who can just produce and produce and produce. And I call them high-level episodes because they've got people on there that maybe simple folk like as myself, would just dream of meeting. And that's crazy, that's just where they're at. It's their connections. It's who they are. And potentially they worked for their career and they achieved it and they got it. And now they're in a place to be able to ask for this kind of stuff. It's hard to do a podcast, man, because it's at least, and maybe this is even like, I'm trying to like attribute this to all the podcasting, but maybe this is just my specific thing that I'm doing, that I chose to do, that I thought sounded so easy in the beginning, but isn't exactly, not at all, in fact. Well, it's easy when it works out, but as is the case with everything. But I don't know, you do like a podcast about something specific. It feels like think about the biggest podcasts we listen to, right? Like or at least even, or maybe not we listen to, but just even look up, like you go on, what is it, Pocket Cast, there's that one, or Twit, or fuck, I'm butchering all the names now, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, wherever you get your podcasts from. Think about like the ones that pop up the most, right? The high level ones. Like fucking A, man. Like some of the highest ones are like podcasts that are produced by NPR. Well, NPR wasn't exactly hurting before a podcast became popular. They just got to jump. And then now it's becoming super popular to produce a podcast. And now everyone who's famous has a podcast, right? So now they're getting into the podcast world. And it's almost just another medium for them to make more money, of course, which is fine. I'm not bitching about that. I understand it. It's just, I'm saying that these are the big ones you see all the time, right? You get on there and you see already famous people making podcasts and or other like, the New York Times has a couple of podcasts. NPR has quite a few podcasts and all that. And it's not to say that they're the only ones that do it, like they're not coming on my mind right now, but there's plenty out there who just did it themselves and they made their success, and good for them, right? Like that, there's just no hole you can poke in that. Not really. It's even regardless of their content for the most part. It's good for them. But at the same time, it's just this crazy thing of like, how is it possible in this day and age to just start from nobody and become somebody as far as podcast entertainment goes? Or and my answer is yes. It's just, man, it's tricky because it's almost like I equate this, especially with what I'm going through right now. I think something I'm going through is this weird phenomenon of trying to get people to come talk with me. And a lot of what it is that it's not so hard for me to get people on here just to babble and chit chat and shoot the shit. But the more you try to get someone in here that you can like also maybe they have a particular insight that you're looking for to tap into. You bring someone on because of their expertise and all that. And I understand that people are busy, man, especially in these coronavirus age. People aren't exactly inclined to get together and do anything crazy. It's just, that's just not realistic. And I know that, so we're living in crazy times, but even then, like, let's assume that times are not coronavirus times, right? Let's assume that things were as they were before Corona. So I have a feeling that, well, I'm explaining it wrong. Let me just say this. Before Corona times, I have a feeling that I'd have an eerie thing going on like now. Because like right now, coronavirus is happening, but we have also learned how to communicate through technology, right? Like Zoom, assuming that, some guy trying to just masturbate on the camera doesn't hack your feed. Oh, God, what if you're teaching kids or something fucked up? Oh, my God, you're talking to your grandparents? Oh, my God, people are fucked up, man. Anyways, so let's say that, let's just understand we have this technology. We can Zoom and we can talk to people. It's not like you have to be there in the flesh, right? But so we understand that, right? It's still not any easier to get people on shows sometimes because people, they value their time and especially they got stuff. If you have a family or you have a family and hobbies maybe, or maybe your hobby that just takes up most of your time. I don't know. But, let's just, I get that there's people doing human things. It's just crazy to me that I guess I'm aware of my circumstance and the circumstance of some of the people that I've asked to come on the show or I've thought about. I guess I've just had this experience of rejection kind of, and it's strange and it's not, and I'm not even trying to attack the people that have, that haven't got, that maybe or were part of the rejection process for me. But I guess with understanding that, just give me a second to just let me rant for a second, right? Let me just rant. And my rant is that, like, come on, man. Like, I know for a fact that you got plenty of free time that you probably spend just watching some bullshit shows. Maybe you're watching some good ones. I don't know. But you probably have plenty of time that you just waste. Or that, like, how much is an hour to just talk to somebody and just exchange ideas? And to me, I think I value that so much. And especially the experiences I've already had doing it. It's such a beautiful thing to sit there and talk to somebody and exchange ideas, and you're looking at them. That person has your focus, and they have you have their focus, they have your focus, and you guys are talking and communicating and exchanging ideas. This isn't just online ranting and raving and just saying ridiculous shit or even just mean shit just because you can, just getting sound bites. And you're actually sitting there talking to someone, and you're face to face with a human being, another mind. And that changes a person. That makes I feel like in a lot of ways makes them more open and honest. I don't know. This part of my rant is just, what the fuck? It's like, I get people's rejection, but at the same time, and of course, in anything you do, you're going to find obstacles. You're going to find rejection. But at the same time, it's like this weird thing of there's plenty of people out there. They want to know, they want to know what you're doing. They want to see your credentials almost, to decide whether you're worth their time. And that's difficult because what if they see your credentials and they see that there's not enough credentials? Well, then in that case, there's not enough data to go on. So you are just not worthwhile, right? Like, oh, sorry, there's not enough data on who you are. So I can't trust you. I'm not going to give you my time because this could just be not worth it. Or, maybe you look and you see that, oh, well, maybe they're just not what I want to do. And that one's a little bit more fair. Like, especially if you see there's like some podcast about, fuck, I don't know, a whole podcast about how to do Xanax and pass out. I don't know, fuck, something. And all of a sudden, like, you're a school teacher, you work at you're a businessman, right? Like, your time is valuable. Someone whose time is valued, they, if they looked at that, they'd be like, that doesn't really. I don't know how I fit into that. I don't know where I come into all that. That's I understand that one a little bit more, but I think what it is, what my problem is it's just that difficult struggle of being a new person into something and trying to get your footing in. And I guess in my case, I haven't put all the effort in that I know that I could, which brings me, which is of course why I was talking about things I was talking about before. I want to get better at stuff. I want to better myself to bring more betterment to the table, but at the same time, it's that old paradox, right? Of people wanting you to have experience before you get the job, but you need a job in that field to get the experience. So it's like, what do you do, right? That's where I'm at with this right now, and I'm gonna keep trying at it and keep working. It's just, I don't know, man. All of this, I just wanted to rant, right? I just wanted to rant and just get some feelings out there, and maybe even hopefully connect with the audience in a way that I haven't before, because I haven't just got to talk and be myself. And hopefully, fingers fucking crossed, that I didn't come off like a goddamn madman, because maybe I am, but I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm going through a very normal human predicament. And it's something that it's just, I'm figuring out how to word it, how to be myself, how and what is myself. And that's why I've, been working with something like meditation, is that trying to break, peel the onion layers of my mind and figure out who I am and what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it. And sometimes just try to take some time to play with my brain and think of nothing, but I'm trying to find out what's in that goddamn head of mine. And I don't know. And there's some people who are really spiritual out there who very much, like, you just see them, they just embody, they're like Ram Dass, they're like, they just embody this perceived notion of spirituality. And you just can't help but think, like, man, they just seem to have the answers. But at the same time, do they? Like, I don't know. And does it apply to me? I don't know. There's so many interpretations of ourselves in the universe, but I would love to have that level of confidence in myself, find something, and feel like I really have something for myself, and I understand who I am and how I operate and how to deal with myself and how to deal with my successes and my shortcomings. And for me, I gotta say this, I've learned enough about myself to realize what I refer to as my highs and my lows. And I'm not like I did a new thing. No, obviously that's already unoriginal content there, but my highs are when I just explain it, of when I'm doing good, when I'm eating good, I'm exercising, I'm keeping myself, busy. And then when I am having leisure time, I feel like I'm having leisure time, but I'm also filling it with something that might be educational, or I feel just like I'm getting something out of it. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe you were watching Tiger King right when Tiger King came out, and so you were just culturally in it. You were with it, and you were able to communicate with everybody about it. Like, yeah, so that could be seen as productive in that way. And maybe that's a reflection of what I see as productive in that sense. But I don't know, those are my highs. But I've learned about myself that with every high, there is a low around the corner. There always is. I'm doing good, and the low is around the corner, because it's me wanting to be lazy. It's me wanting to sit there and do nothing. I start doing good, and then all of a sudden it's like, I haven't played video games in a while, or I haven't gone into leisure, or times when I've stopped like smoking and drinking. I'm like, well, you deserve a reward, right? Let's have a smoke and a drink about it, right? Yeah, I just can't get away from that, And then so there's a low coming, and then eventually I start giving in and dabbling a little bit here and there in the things that I know that aren't helpful or beneficial, or I'm breaking my traditions, my routines, my positive routines I've set for myself. And now I just give into it. Eventually I give into it. Next thing I know, I'm giving into it for a day. I just spend this day doing nothing and being ridiculous. And then I'm like, well, it's good to have a day. And I'm not wrong, but that's another instance of me like putting on this like excuse that I'm being positive or that this is nothing. Like I'm just excusing something when really I'm just excusing poor behavior. But then it doesn't stop there. And then it's like next thing I know, there's a few days I haven't done anything. I haven't been productive. I haven't been working at all on the things I know that I want to be working on. And so I hate myself for it and I beat myself up for it, which gets me lower. And then I guess out of my lows, eventually I reach a pit and I decide that I got to get better. I think my big struggle these days is I'm trying to get better and I'm trying to do something that, fulfills me, and I'm trying to be the best version of whoever I am. It's just that when I'm at those lows, eventually I work myself up and I beat myself up and I try to attain this and I get better. And so far, I think something that gives me hope is that I feel like as time is going on, I'm becoming, my highs are getting better and better each time. I feel like I'm still kind of on a high, right now, but I'm worried that there's a low coming around the corner. And even since I've started this show, I've had a couple lows. And it was just because it was me trying to like teeter off and not fulfill my responsibilities and the things I wanted. But every high that I have feels better and better. It's just that I think I'm trying to connect with myself in a way that I can maintain that high all the time, or as much as possible, right? So I don't know. I'm just going through this weird dilemma of trying to find myself and trying to be able to live with myself when I'm alone, and be the person I want to be when I'm in front of people, all the while feel fulfilled and know that I'm doing what I want to do. And I don't know. And I want to even like put some thought into when it comes to the spirituality of why I'm enjoying. Why is it that the things that I've wanted to do, why do I want to do them? Is the fact that I want to do a podcast, is it just a form of narcissism? Is it just because I feel like I'm so profound and important that I need to be recorded and I need to try to make everyone else listen to it? Like, do I think that I'm that funny and awesome and entertaining and that I just need to be seen and heard and I need that validation? Maybe. I laid it all out and maybe. But I also know that that's not all of it. I know that there's also because I feel like I'm stuck sitting here having to ingest all the information that everyone else is producing, even most of the time just shit, entertainment, shit, information, and I don't want to be a part of it. And I know it's all ridiculous, but I look around me and I see how many humans are feeding into this like ridiculous behavior, like, I'm sorry, TikTok, I'm sorry, I'm saying it, I'm coming out that way. I'm coming out of the closet that way. Fuck TikTok, man. Fuck it. I don't like it. I don't understand this thing. All the challenges on there and how much of I feel like Vine was funny, but maybe Vine was funny because it had a different generation of people on there. Nowadays, it's like, what? There's people on there who are just ridiculous, man. And I know that was the case with Vine too, but goddamn, there's people that are like, what are these dance challenge things? People are like, I want to dance to this music and I want to mouth it and be weird. I'm like, have you ever looked at this content objectively? Have you ever sat back and thought, what is it in the fuck that we're doing? And for the people who are watching it and being entertained, like, why is this entertaining? I didn't learn it. I'm just sitting here watching shit. Some part of my brain is being rewarded for a second, or my brain is just being manipulated to pay attention to this for a while, long enough for them to get their views and their advertisement dollars and all that. I don't know, man. That's a side tangent, right? Like, of course, that's not my whole point in all this, but I don't want to be someone that's ingesting that kind of information either. I see that kind of stuff, and I don't want to be that way. I don't want to waste my time, and I have to be doing, and I don't want to have to do anything just to get the spotlight on me. I feel like I want to give, like I said before, I want to be giving something to the world. I want to feel like I'm helping, like you read about the great philosophers and writers of humanity, which of course I don't think there's any other writers and philosophers of any other species, but let me know if we uncover something. But we look at all this, and I just want to almost like be that person in a way of contributing thoughts and ideas and interpretations of the world and the universe. And I don't know, feeling like I can help in some way. And that's maybe my speciality. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But fuck it. I don't know. I'm just a human being trying to be better. And this was all just me ranting about it and trying, in a way also, I want to connect more with anyone that listens to my show. This is a human being behind this microphone that's taking this seriously, that just gives a shit about not only this show, but so much more than that. And I don't know, in this podcast form, you're just hearing my voice. You're just, I guess, going along so long as you listen to the whole thing. I guess maybe you get all the words that I've recorded, but even then, that's not me in the flesh, right? I'm different here to some degree. I feel like, I guess I'm changing the subject again just a little bit, in that I feel like this is helping me. Like me sitting here talking into this microphone, I feel like from when I started to now, very different. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it and edit some shit, of course, but man, I just feel like this has already been very therapeutic to just sit here and rant and open my mind. I feel like the stigma barrier just lifted itself a little bit from my mind, and now I'm able to just talk as myself and be more myself and record it. And that's important to me. I want to be that way in all my recordings, and this is helping me a bit. But there's more stigma to sitting here recording by myself. But even when I'm recording with another person here, there's a part of me that feels like there's this disconnect between me being myself and me being the recording Tanner, right? Like I have to be different. And I want to lift that barrier up and have someone sit down and realize that I'm myself. And I feel like that will help comfort another guest more, and that can be applied to real life. You just talk to someone and you be yourself. And that's kind of why I'm on this weird journey of I'm just trying to be myself. And I feel like, not only do I have fun with this podcast stuff, but I think it has a lot to teach me, and a lot in as far as entertainment to me is just drive, something for me to wake up in the morning and care about and to just give a shit about, And I'm somebody who listens to, a lot of podcasts and books and all that. And I've gone through phases. These days, I've definitely 100% just listened to this shit all the time. Like all podcasts and audiobooks, man, that's where it's at. Because I got to be ingesting information. But I'd love it if one day Tanner Vance show was something that, people plug themselves into. Maybe you're working a job that's nothing you like. Maybe you're exercising. Maybe you're working a job you do like, and you're in the middle of doing something tedious. There's this one thing in your job that's monotonous and tedious and whatever. I hope that it would be so nice if Tanner Vance show was a strong option for people to plug into, but that people who are plugging into it wasn't what I attributed like to TikTok as having this useless entertainment. I want it to be something that is thoughtful, mind-provoking, something that maybe, I don't want to be just this 100%. I'm not going to be, I don't even want to label my show. I don't want to say I'm a liberal podcast. I'm a conservative podcast. I'm a Christian podcast. I'm an economic podcast. No, I'm just a guy behind a microphone trying to explain myself and explain the world as best I can from my skewed perspective. And I just want to bring something that is of worth to myself and others. I just want, man, someone write that down, man, and frame it or put it, on a picture and Tanner Vance at the end of it, quote, people can share it on Facebook and all that. Yeah, do that. That was good. But anyways, I want to be that. And that's my like high level of attainment. That's what I want to achieve. And that's just, I sat here to rant about it because it's been on my mind, and I felt like I understood that there was this therapeutic potential behind doing this, and I'm really happy that I did. And I'm gonna post this, and if you listen to the whole thing, thank you. And seriously, thank you. And I hope that it wasn't completely useless to you. And I hope that at the very least, even if you listened to a part of it, maybe you just clicked at the end, you just heard that. I don't know, man. That it gets you thinking about what you want to do and what you're doing, and look around yourself, and are you happy? And if you are, great. I'm not asking you to rip your life down. I'm just asking you that if you're anything like me, and I've talked to plenty of people out there, and I think there's majority, and I could be wrong, this majority of people who are like me, who they just don't know what they're doing, and they want to do more, but they don't know where to start. And when they start somewhere, there's so many obstacles. And I feel like I'll, you know, one day be looking back on this and thinking, God, I sound like such a pussy in this episode. Like, get over yourself, Tanner. And great, that'd be awesome. That implies I got better. Maybe I could be looking back on it and I got worse. I don't know, but let's not do that. Let's not go down that dark spiraling abyss. Uh, yeah, just I'm hoping that if you listen to it, you got something out of it. Know that I really did. I really feel good about sitting here recording this. I really feel like I got something out of it, and I'm gonna spend some time after this really thinking about it. And I hope that, like I said, if you listen to it, you get to walk away with just thinking of something. Even if you listen to a portion, you're walking away just dwelling on that, thinking about it, and you're trying to apply it constructively, right? You're trying to think about all the aspects of it, and the whole point of this was me just trying to be someone that's trying to better my life, and I don't know what it all looks like, and I'm working it out, man. And I feel like that's all I wanted to get off my chest. I think I got it. You know, I don't want to have a super long episode of me just fucking babbling, so I'll get out of here, I think. But overall, I appreciate anyone that's listening. I'm trying to get better. You get better too. And for real, if you've got anything you think you want to send to me, as far as ideas or comments, concerns, whatever, I want to hear about them. I really am. Go to tannervanceshow.com and just let me know. Get a hold of me, and I want to talk to you guys. I want to coordinate with other people. Maybe some other people out there can help me get my mind in place, in a good place. I don't know, but for real, I enjoy doing this. I love it. I love working on this. It gives me a reason to wake up in the morning, thinking about all this. So thank you guys. Be well. Just better yourselves. I'm working on bettering myself. So I'm out of here. I'll stop repeating myself. I recognize that. I think I'm just having this. I'm having a mushy gushy moment. I love you guys. Oh. All right. Bye, guys.